2019 wasn't a good year for WWE fans who just so happened to be gamers. With the splitting of Ukes and 2K games, Visual Concepts was left to pick up the ball in trying to make the latest installment in the WWE 2K game series, practically from scratch while under a strict deadline. The end result was a sheer disappointment of an experience that saw fans turn against the developer and publisher for not delaying what should have been an evolution of a mostly fun WWE 2K19. Deciding it was for the best for the WWE 2K franchise, the developers changed their approach for 2020 by producing a game that embraced the absurdity of pro wrestling and WWE in general. I came into WWE 2K Battlegrounds with a bit of optimism for what was sure to be a budget experience where the fun, hopefully, wouldn't be marred by technical difficulties and anti-consumer decisions. WWE 2K Battlegrounds obviously takes cues from arcade brawlers of the past, while foregoing the more simulation-based action WWE games has seen throughout the 8th generation. By being unlike its predecessors, the game also changes what is available for completion purposes. The game's campaign mode lasts anywhere between 4 to 10 hours, depending on how well the player does or if the AI wants to become a reversal beast. The extended time necessary for completion in campaign mode comes courtesy of branching paths that don't add more to the story. A narrative focusing on the developer-crafted created wrestlers brawling throughout the world in hopes of becoming WWE superstars under the watchful eyes of Paul Heyman and Stone Cold Steve Austin, but does give the player an opportunity to unlock extra wrestlers, power-ups, and vanity items for the player's own created grapplers. In regards to building a player's own created wrestler, Battleground Challenge is presented in the same way as campaign mode, with branching paths and no story. Challenge is just an opportunity to upgrade the created character's skills, power-ups, though these power-up upgrades work across the board and is not just limited to the created wrestler, and earn some battle bucks to pay for in-game unlockables. Completion of Battleground Challenge can take another 10 to 12 hours. Featuring quite a few modes, Battlegrounds gives the player enough to see what absurdity the wrestlers can get into, including regular one-on-one bouts, survival-style gauntlet brawls, the Royal Rumble, and even an electrified steel cage. Thanks to the campaign mode, experiencing all the match types will happen if the player simply plays through the story without taking any branching paths. Online action is also available, with tournament mode being a series of single matches where the player will have to win 6 matches in a row with real opponents with the hope of earning more battle bucks. The other online mode is an online Royal Rumble, with real players entering the ring until one stands as the king of the battleground, a mode that can be extremely fun if the game doesn't glitch out. There is no ranking system for the online modes, but the leaderboard will showcase how well the player has done in King of the Battleground mode. The trophy and achievement list is pretty sparse, with the hardest goals to complete including winning a 30-man Royal Rumble match on medium difficulty. The biggest grind comes with unlocking all of the wrestlers and their 3 costumes. Considering the price of most wrestlers not unlockable in campaign mode, it should take the player anywhere from 20 to 30 hours to unlock everyone, if not more, without spending real money on gold coins that, not surprisingly, reduce the cost of unlocking anyone from Shawn Michaels to AJ Styles. Breaking down a WWE game to the bones and rebuilding it in the image of something like WWE All-Stars or even WWF WrestleMania the arcade game, WWE 2K Battlegrounds doesn't overly complicate things with its gameplay. Every character has a standard set of attacks, with their presentation differing depending on the class associated with them: Brawler, Technician, High Flyer, Powerhouse, or All-Arounder. With punches, kicks, throws which can be amplified with both gorilla press tosses and impressive attacks like launching an opponent into a Street Fighter-esque uppercut, Irish whips, submissions that can only be done on downed opponents, initiating a minigame where, in the case of the PS4 and Xbox versions, the player has to rapidly tap the trigger buttons to either free their character or prevent their opponent from surviving. And the ability to block, with a perfectly timed block when being struck producing a parrying effect for a hopeful counterattack. Each character in a class also has most of the same special attacks, strengths, and weaknesses, such as high flyer grapplers being able to pull off springboard maneuvers, but can't lift and toss opponents out of the ring like their powerhouse counterparts. Technicians have better throw strength. Powerhouses can armor through strikes while producing seismic-like attacks, and brawlers literally pull weapons like chairs and even a motorcycle out of their back pocket. The only real difference that comes from playing someone like The Undertaker or Sergeant Slaughter is the fact they have unique signature or finishing maneuvers. These flashy maneuvers can only be performed when the character's heat bar located underneath the character is full. Unfortunately, reversals, which uses up a quarter of the heat bar with each use, are finicky at best, thanks to the execution needed by the player with the random face button popping on screen when a reversal is available. With a varying reversal window and the button needing to be tapped being randomized, can make it difficult to pull off reversals, especially when someone is lifting the player's down character, that can only rise if the player continuously hits the throw button, meaning the downed player may still be hitting the throw button when their opponent looks to pick them up, and a reversal suddenly becomes available. Power-ups play a minuscule or major role in any match, depending on the one chosen by the player. Each character's HUD will feature a meter that fills up, making power-ups available in stages of 3, with the highest tier power-up taking the longest time to fill, and will reset the meter when used. Some power-ups including being able to set a character's fist on fire to make punches do more damage, or become encased in stone to reduce the effectiveness of incoming attacks. But some power-ups don't necessarily prove too efficient without upgrading them in Battleground Challenge, including making it more difficult for an opponent to kick out of a pin, or restoring a good amount of health in mid-battle. Fan excitement affects how fast the heat bar fills up, and making it easier to kick out of pins or stop submissions, thanks to mid-match challenges such as perform a taunt or do a special maneuver add to the fans' satisfaction meter. Certain stages feature interactive moments, including the highly promoted crocodile ready to bite down on a thrown grappler in the Everglades, or controlling a ram via a remote. Some elements seen on WWE TV even play out here, with a destructible ring that removes countouts when the ring collapses. Overall, the gameplay perfectly captures the pick-up and play charm expected of its visuals, but lacks any real depth outside of power-ups and certain stage interactables. There are quite a few match types available, including prototypical and tornado tag matches, the aforementioned Royal Rumble, where the character's health bar will mean the difference between being eliminated or having the chance to eliminate a foe, one fall fatal 4-way bouts, and an innovative steel cage offering. Steel cage matches play differently than anything seen in previous WWE games, with money randomly appearing inside the cage to be collected. Once the character collects enough money, they can climb the cage and hopefully escape. Attaining money can be difficult for both the player and their opponent because the cage will periodically become temporarily electrified, sending unfortunate souls spiraling down to the mat if they are on the fence at the wrong time. The biggest issue with cage matches is how quickly an opponent can get up in correlation with how long it takes to hold down the climb button to retrieve a hanging bag of cash. If the character is caught by the opponent before they can make the money disappear, a minigame just like the one used for the submission system and preventing an elimination in the Royal Rumble match appears that may or may not work in the money grabber's favor. Steel cage matches are some of the most fun the game can produce when everything clicks, and one of the most annoying experiences when the AI goes reversal crazy, it takes forever to get the money, and the opponent refuses to stay down. Outside of the match stipulations is the aforementioned campaign mode, where the player takes control of 6 differently classed wrestlers through at least 60 story events and matches of 118 moments, while the story is told via comic-style slides, no voice acting or cinematic moments, including the final scenes. Character creation options are not as robust as those seen in the previous WWE 2K games, with most outfits being lacking, though facial morphing is surprisingly detailed. Unfortunately, there is no ability to share created wrestlers via community creations. The same goes for the rather impressive Create an Arena mode. To upgrade a created fighter, the player must enter Battleground Challenge, where they can go through multiple matches with the intent of getting enough battle bucks to fill out the created wrestler's skill tree and power up those power-ups. But there is something that greatly hinders character creation and generally the entire game: microtransactions. The game features two forms of currency, with battle bucks being rewarded for completing matches, leveling up the player's profile, finishing daily challenges such as playing 3 Royal Rumble matches, and completing scenarios in both the campaign and Battleground Challenge modes. These bucks can purchase everything locked in the game, but the prices are usually exorbitant, especially when compared to how much money the player is attaining from playing the game, and how much these unlockables cost if the player spends actual money to buy gold coins. For example, Triple H costs 12,000 battle bucks to unlock, but only 300 gold coins, and that's only for the base unlock, not his 2 other costumes that also need to be unlocked by spending in-game currency. This currency system is embedded in almost everything the game has to offer, including unlocking a majority of the game's cover stars. Entering special versions of online tournament mode, like one where you can play as the women wrestlers because the base tournament mode doesn't feature the option for some reason. And having more than 5 creator wrestler slots. Yes, the player will have to pay to unlock creator wrestler slots. With the promise of so many wrestlers available at launch, it's shocking that a majority are either locked behind a paywall or stuck in campaign mode, where the player has no idea who they are unlocking until they do so, including discovering that John Cena does exist in this game. Technically, the game isn't as bad as WWE 2K20, though it's still rough around the edges. The commentary isn't bad, just terribly executed, with Jerry Lawler and Mauro Ranallo having delayed, exaggerated, and even wrong reactions, like Mauro going crazy for an Irish whip, or Lawler saying someone came off the top rope for an impressive attack when they never left their feet. Character bodies are ridiculously disproportionate to complement the cartoon-like style, but some of the faces are incredibly off, including The Miz and Baron Corbin. Hit detection can see the player missing strikes or being grappled, even if their character visibly initiated an attack first. In multi-person matches, the lock-on system can become difficult to control, with the player's character sometimes deciding to focus on someone else, without the player forcing them to do so, a problem that can result in an unwarranted counterattack. Matches like the Royal Rumble or even tag team bouts can produce drastic frame rate drops at any given moment that may make the player think the game is about to implode. Glitches can happen both offline and online, like being counted out when outside of the ring for only 3 seconds, or an opponent refusing to stay down no matter what the player hits them with in regards to the prior. Online, we'll see players pinned after a 2 count, the game refusing to load a match when certain characters are chosen, and hard crashes that will end a tournament mode match with the only hope for the player being they made it far enough to earn a checkpoint, so they don't have to start from the beginning. One of the biggest issues comes down to a developer decision, as the game needs to be online at all times if the player wants to earn those post-match rewards, profile experience points, and battle bucks. No matter if it's a single-player exhibition match against the CPU or a steel cage bout in campaign mode. If the player is offline, they won't get any rewards, and the game will not make up for those lost bucks when the player goes online afterward. When keeping things simple, WWE 2K Battlegrounds is a very fun, arcade-style brawler meant for short-term enjoyment. But the grind to unlock way too many wrestlers, lacking creation options including the ability to share created wrestlers, and some odd decisions in handling the campaign mode and reward system makes this another misstep in the WWE 2K games era. With the emphasis on producing a game that doesn't ask for the player to work too hard to enjoy the in-ring action, WWE 2K Battlegrounds mostly succeeds in being an exciting, over-the-top grappler that avoids the simulated experience of the previous WWE 2K games. though priced $20 less than a AAA title or the usual new WWE video game. Battlegrounds makes up for it by locking way too many wrestlers, adding monetary stipulations to aspects that shouldn't be hindered by microtransactions, and the developers trying to entice the player to spend more actual real money to make things so much easier to enjoy. If someone doesn't care about unlocking almost every major star associated with WWE's recent past and present, and just wants to have some wild, though repetitive fun, it's hard not to recommend this as at least a rental, if not a full purchase when it's on sale in a major way. But if you're looking for a WWE game able to have some longevity, it's best to look elsewhere, unless the basis of your entertainment comes from watching Carmella losing her mind during her entrance.
Not done dishing out the punishment.